So I was just at the gas station, and a man that I would initially say, upon looking at him, a homeless man, but I don't know for sure. He stopped me and he said, "Hey, man, that's a nice car." And I said, "Thank you. It was my dad's." He said, "Yeah, I always loved those." So that black car in the background. He said, "I always loved those." I said, "Yeah, it was my dad's." He said, "So where's your dad now?" I said, "My dad's dead. He passed away in September. So if I can't take care of him anymore, so I figured I'll take care of his car." And this man said to me, he said, like we just did right there, talking about your dad, even though he's gone, I think we should do that because when we talk about people that have passed on, we bring them back in the room. And I thought that was an interesting way to put it. He said, "So right now, you and we just brought your dad back in the room so that he can say hi." And he said, "And I bet he's proud of you for taking care of that car and taking care of the stuff that's left now that he's gone." And it's interesting because I just got an oil change on that car today. So I came from an oil change, trying to keep this car running and in good shape. And then that conversation happens with a man who initially I would say, "Oh God, this is a homeless guy. He's going to talk to me about whatever, right? He needs something." And it was not that at all. It was like my dad spoke through this man. Now, interestingly enough, on this day, which I'm late this year, but what I do every year is I come to my grandfather's grave, which is where I am right now. And I put my medallions on the grave. Because my grandfather, my dad's dad, was an alcoholic who never got sober, really. He had periods of sobriety, but he never kept it. And in many ways, I am like my grandfather. I'm an alcoholic. I don't drink anymore, thank God. And so what I'm putting here is last year's. I normally come on November 17th, his birthday, but this year, November 17th, was my dad's funeral. So I'm a little late this year, but it's interesting today how things seem to synchronize. So yesterday I said, tomorrow I'm getting the oil changed on the car because I can't, blow up that engine. I got to take care of that. My dad left me that car, and I got to get to the grave site for my grandfather because I'm months behind. I normally come on his birthday, and I put my medallion on there. My anniversary is in April, but I put that year's medallion. I started doing this when I had 9 years because I never knew where his grave was. So I found it, and now I come here a few times a year to pay my respects to my grandfather, who was an alcoholic who never really got sober. I'm an alcoholic who is sober. I've been sober for almost 13 years. That'll be April. So let's say 12 years. And my dad didn't have a great relationship with his dad. So I always worked hard to have the best relationship I could with my dad in some way to kind of clear the karma of the relationship with his dad. Because I think in a lot of ways, I'm more like his dad. And that's why my dad and I in my earlier years didn't get along. Because I was kind of a wild child and out there causing mayhem. And my dad was more of a, clean-cut, straight-laced military guy and didn't really, put up with a lot of fuckery. So I think a lot of ways I reminded him of his dad, which is why we didn't get along. I got sober, which cleared the karma of his dad. And then I worked hard to have the best relationship with my dad that I could and talked about his dad. I asked questions about his dad. He never really wanted to talk about that relationship, and I kind of made him do it. I wanted to know more about him. And now I come here and I pay respects to my grandfather and I pay respects to my dad. And all of that is, so again, the synchronicity was I had plans to oil change for my dad's car that he left me. I had plans to come to the grave site for my grandfather today. I'm going to do it today. And as I'm leaving the oil change, which on a spiritual level, it's like I'm in my dad's car that he loved and he had for years, and I'm doing my part to take care of it and do the right thing and not run it into the ground. And as I'm putting some gas in the vehicle, a man comes up to me and talks to me about the car, which leads to a conversation about my dad, which leads to a comment about how we brought him back in the room. And all while I'm on my way to my my grandfather's gravesite. So today is an interesting, beautiful day where I feel the presence of not only my dad, but my grandfather, who I never knew, I never met. He died 3 years before I was born. It's just interesting, you know? Reality isn't what we think it is. Everything's connected. Past, present, future. Being linear is an illusion that we experience in the third dimension here. But it's all happening at the same time. So I'm just enjoying that truth about reality today as I bring my dad and my grandfather in the room. No one's ever truly gone. We're just at different points in reality. So that's that. So in summary, today was an interesting day because without planning to, I feel as though I connected spiritually to my dad and my grandfather. And despite the fact that they had a really rough relationship on Earth in this 3D space, I believe that where they are now, everything is love and everything is harmony. We've lost a lot of people over the last year. And for us in this 3D space, it's gut-wrenching to lose people that we love. And oftentimes it's even worse to lose people before their time. So we say before their time, when in reality, everybody's time is their time. But from a 4D space and beyond, I believe that everything is connected. And we're existing together in different forms, like a gas, a liquid, and a solid. So in our solid state, we can't necessarily interact with the gaseous state the way we interact with others in the solid state. But the truth is that they're all forms of the same, like vapor, liquid water, and ice. So for me, that's how I view life. That's how I view existence. No one's ever truly gone. We can memorialize them with our thoughts and our actions. We can live in such a way that carries on their legacy. We can live in a way that they would be proud of. And I believe that when we transition from this physical state to whatever's next, we're going to reconnect with the energies that we're most that has the most gravitational pull between each other. I believe, for example, that our parents and the people closest to us in our life isn't an accident. I believe that we've interacted with each other in different lifetimes or in different existences time and time again. And every so often, a new energy will come into the mix, and that'll play out well, or that'll play out, maybe we'll have trouble with people in our life. And the question that I always ask myself is this a new energy to my karmic cycle? Have I dealt with this soul before? There's other people like Daniela, my wife, who I feel like I've known for 1,000 years. And maybe I have, in fact. There's people that we just instantly connect with, we instantly link with and mesh with. And I often wonder, is this the first time we've done this? Maybe it's the first time we've done this in this dynamic. But, so for me, I try to look beyond just the physical. I try to look at what are the possibilities for life and for consciousness and where it goes. We call it death, but I think that's a really short-sighted view.
The physical body dies, but does that mean that our consciousness dies? I personally don't think so. I think that consciousness precedes physical form, and lasts and exists after our this vessel has reached its capacity. And on many levels, I believe that we'll do it again in human form or otherwise. I'm not sure, but for me, I like to believe, and I find comfort in believing that past, present, and future are connected. We're at different points in reality that maybe we can't interact with each other the same way, but it's basically like gas, liquid, and solid. So today, in my solid form, I connected with my dad and my grandfather in their ethereal state. Perhaps I have no idea, and I could just be delusional and full of shit. But it brought comfort, and I feel as though something happened today, and that's cool, and I'll carry that with me. So for anybody that's suffering from the loss of a loved one or a friend, look beyond just this. There's so much more than what we can see, touch, taste, hear, and smell. There's a world, there's a whole reality in what we can feel, and in those extra perceptions that we get that we oftentimes chalk up as, and that's probably nothing, or that's just my imagination. But what if it's more real than that?